Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yassir li emri vahlul ukdeten min lisani yafqahu qawli. We will continue with the 17th word. This is page 229 in my book. This section right after the supplication which occurred to me in Persian. Unfortunately, there's no title. Inshallah, we will start reading from if you want permanence in this transitory world.
If you want permanence in this transitory world, permanence comes from transitoriness. Find transience with regard to your evil commanding soul so that you may be enduring. Divest yourself of bad morals, the basis of the worship of this world. Be transitory. Sacrifice your goods and property in the way of the true beloved. See the ends of beings which point to non-existence, for the way leading to permanence in this world starts from transitoriness. The human mind, which plunges into causes, is bewildered at the upheavals of the passing of the world and laments despairingly, while the conscience, which desires true existence, serves the connection with metaphorical beloveds and transient beings through crying like Abraham, I love not those that sit, and it binds itself to the truly existent one and eternal beloved. O my ignorant soul, know that the world and its beings are certainly ephemeral, but you may find a way leading to permanence in each ephemeral thing, and may see two flashes, two mysteries of the manifestations of the undying beloved's beauty. Yes, it is within the bounty that the bestowal is to be seen and the favor of the most merciful perceived. If you pass from bounty to bestowal, you will find the bestower. Also, each work of the eternally besought one makes known the all-glorious Maker's name like a missive. If you pass from the decoration to the meaning, you will find the one signified by way of his names. Since you can find the kernel, the essence of these ephemeral beings, obtain it. Then without pity, you can throw away their meaningless shells and externals onto the flood of ephemerality. Among beings, there is no work which is not a most meaningful, embodied word and does not cause to be read numerous of the glorious Maker's names. Since beings are words of power, read their meanings and place them in your heart. Fearlessly cast words without meaning onto the winds of transience. Do not concern yourself looking behind them, needlessly occupying yourself. Since the chain of thought of the worldly mind, which worships externals and whose capital consists of objective knowledge, leads to nothingness and non-existence, it cries out despairingly in its bewilderment and frustration. It seeks a true path leading to reality, since the spirit has withdrawn from those that set and the ephemeral, and the heart has given up its metaphorical beloved, and the conscience too has turned its face from transitory beings. You too, my wretched soul, my wretched soul, attract the assistance of I love not those that said, like Abraham, and be saved.
Don't worry, I also had difficulty following and understanding.
Yes,
I'm looking at your face and...
Okay.
Maybe we should start reading from the beginning, like one paragraph, and then try to understand. It would actually really help if one of you could explain what we studied last week. Just summarize. Yusuf, there are fingers pointing to you.
Okay.
We love the verse.
So, we have been studying the verse, but when it said, he said, I love not those that said, and this was from the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam when he was considering star, moon, or the sun as his Lord, and once all those said, this was his response. I love not those that said. And the author was interpreting this verse in the context of ourselves. So in human conscience, there's this aspect that we don't like those things that set. So what does it mean? So I'm just going to summarize what I understand, because I guess going over paragraphs is going to be a little bit tough.
Yeah.
So, as we are in search of, or at least heart, it requires or achieves satisfaction if a thing stays with me forever. So I love something, some beauty, I get attracted to it, affected with it, but either the beauty disappears or I die, I cease to exist. So, and this, in the case of beauty disappearing, when it leaves me, when the joy leaves me, then I get upset. If it is me who is going to eventually get separated from the beauty itself, just the thought of this eventually getting separated from the beauty itself makes me go crazy. Because then what was the point? Shall I really love the things? Because now I myself, which is the ultimate source of my joy, is dying. Now I am the one that sets. So am I not going to love myself? Because now I hate my condition. I am the one that is setting. Because we hear this a lot. Maybe when we speak to ourselves, we say, I hate myself. I think these sorts of words are common to appear in people's mouths. And one aspect of this hating from the self might also come from the fact that I am the one that is dying as well. And myself is the source of my joy, all the joys that I experience, and it's setting anyways. So then the human heart, he says, can only get attached to a thing or get satisfied with the thing that's ephemeral. No, not ephemeral. Eternal. That's eternal. So then author was also taking it to worshiping. He was saying that this aspect of human heart, seeking for satisfaction in something, is worshiping. So, and heart is only satisfied by worshiping the eternal one. But if I try to replace it with something else, something beautiful but ephemeral, and I am worshiping it, but it's not worthy of being worshipped. So in there he kind of tied love with worship. So he keeps just explaining more about this relation of love and the separation. And now it comes to a point that I do not want separation, I do not desire separation, I cannot abide separation. So it is as if now I am again, like the part that we were studying a few weeks ago, as if I am doomed now, because I have this love and I hate getting separated, but it's inevitable that I'm getting separated. So how am I going to solve this problem? And I'll just read the last two paragraphs. Meetings followed immediately by separation are not worth sorrow and grief. They are not worthy of being longed for. For just as the passing of pleasure is pain, imagining the passing of pleasure is also pain. The works of all the metaphorical lovers, that is, the works of poetry on love, are all cries at the pain arising from imagining this passing. So he was also now referring to the literature. Everybody is talking about their pains out of love. Either they lost their lover, or the lover is not responding to their love. So at the very crux of it, it's always separation. Then the part now that we studied today is one to come, which starts with cryptic sentence, if you want, permanence in this transitory world. Permanence comes from transitories, whatever that means.
That was a long summary. Thank you. No, in a good way. So any comments before we start with the new part? Anything about all these ephemerality, transitoriness?
Yes, I find this paragraph, meetings followed immediately by separation are not worth sorrow and grief. They are not worthy of being longed for. I just find that just an opinion. It doesn't apply to me. It's worth it. Always, the experience itself is worth it, and at least many folks who lost their children, and it's one of the most painful things they describe they have ever gone through. If they are asked, was it worth it? Would you rather never have? Many of them would say, yes, the joy they brought to me was worth that pain. Was worth every single moment of it. Personally, I would rather experience and live with the pain than not experience. I'm just saying I disagree with that simple opinion based on reading. So that's my opinion.
Any comments on that?
I'm not sure if that statement talks about the pain before the joy.
The pain before the joy?
The way that I understood what you said.
Uh-huh.
You go through some pain to have kids, but the joy that comes together with the kids is so enjoyable that like you think that it is worth to.
Oh, the other way around. I'm talking about someone lost their child.
Oh, lost their child.
Lost their child. I didn't know that there is a pain to be sick. The idea is not for me.
No?
No, it's just a comment that I didn't know that there is so much pain to get children.
Oh.
Yeah, like I misunderstood. That's why I was puzzled.
Okay, it's about losing. Anyways, I just thought maybe you guys discussed it and found some meaningful things that you can all agree on. But
I guess yes, when you read it by itself, like cherry picking, it may sound weird, I agree. But in the context of what we discussed and the rest of the text, what would you say, Yusuf, for that part?
I made this summary, so we get some rest.
Any comments? We can just skip and start with the neat part. Yes, doesn't matter if nobody wants to say something on that. Nothing?
No, online.
There are online participants, but they don't want to, I guess, comment on this part. So maybe we should continue with the new section.
So then, since nobody is making the comment, then I'm making the comment.
Go ahead, please.
So meetings followed immediately by separation are not worth sorrow and grief. they are not worthy of being longed for. So, so as if he is saying that you shouldn't. So if there's a joy, and each and every time, right after I get the joy is disappearing. So the statement is saying that I shouldn't be looking after such a joy. I shouldn't be willing to get or run, allow such a joy. So an extreme example for this one is like any sort of things that we are, what did I say? Addiction. So we get addicted to something. So I didn't use drugs, but since we saw the people in there, I can relate to, just to give this extreme example over them, but I can think about my own addictions as well. So the addictions that I'm afflicted with, what sort of a joy do they provide me? And the lack of this joy, because right after I get the joy, it disappears from me. And now I am lacking the joy for the rest of the time. But when I starting to miss it, and I start getting excited, and I cannot find it. This is what we observe as those people addicted to drug. So now if we ask the question, this is why actually they are saying that drugs are bad, protect your children from this and that, in this ultimate example, because the joy that the drug brings is not worthy of going through this, because you get kind of trapped in this sort of a relation, and you never get satisfied from this sort of a joy. So this is why I guess it says meetings followed immediately by separation are not worth sorrow and grief. They are not worthy of being longed for. I shouldn't be looking for this sort of a joy, because before I started, I know that it's going to bring me more pain than the joy itself. Because unless and until I repeat the experience itself, take the drug again, I cannot renew the joy itself. It's not like your child, for example. Somehow you still have the joys of your child. You remember your memories about your child. So even after that, once your child passes away, you have something about your child with you. But in the ultimate example of this addiction, for example, the drug is gone, and you cannot repeat the joy. The joy is gone as well. So you will have to repeat the joy itself. Now from there we can go back and apply it back to the child as well. Okay, it is not identical to taking the drug, but also it has an aspect which passes away. The part that it stays with me, the good memories somehow, gives me some sort of a pleasure again. I can make sense of it, sort of, or benefit from it at the time being, although my child has passed away. But still there's this aspect that it's not as real as I am having my child in my arms. So still, there's always this lacking of the feeling itself. So it's not identical. So this is why I am thinking that he is talking about this separation. If a joy is immediately followed by separation, then it's not worthy of running after it. So this is why, if for someone there is some aspect of eternity in joys, which means there is an afterlife of the thing itself, then you are secure. Afterlife meaning that once it dies, still something remains from it. So your child died, relatively speaking, but the memories of your child still is with you. So sort of an afterlife in this life. We are now talking about an afterlife in this life, which makes you say that, okay, this is good. Still, my child is not lost. So this is why you might be still saying that it was worthy of having it. But most of our joys are not as such. But still, if there is no afterlife for me, then my own death troubles me. What will happen after I die? Where am I going? Because personally, I cannot just grasp the idea of going into non-existence. And my brain just makes, as Osman says, blue screen, just gives error. I cannot accept it. And I'm hardwired not to accept non-existence. This way or that way, I would like to experience something. So, yeah.
Are you married?
Not yet.
But yeah, someone you like.
Yeah.
So you love her.
Sure.
Also, no.
Have you ever thought about the separation from her?
Yeah, of course.
And what's the feeling like?
It hurts. Sure.
I think that's really the main paragraph of the, like, main theme of this paragraph. That's your reality.
Yes, but
So like you lost something or someone, and you want that experience to be permanent. And even the idea of like the separation, like, gives you like grief and pain. Not alone the separation itself, even the thinking or gives you grief and pain.
yes, I agree. For my personally, I would rather, definitely, I prefer the experience over the pain. I really mean this always. If separation happens, there will be a lot of pain. But I'm sure that if I look at it and get a little bit detached from being emotional.
We do, but like I think the way that I understand the paragraph, this is our reality. We don't want separation, and we want the things that we love. We want permanence, like existence of those things. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you agree on that?
I kind of agree on that, but I think the problem is not that we want eternal things. At least I think that my problem, I'm not really concerned about the eternal part. I think we're not coming with good terms with death. We just refuse that. We refuse for that relationship to your child or to your partner or to joy to die. We just don't want to face it. We just want death to be that stop sign that you stop and you continue. And if we keep struggling with that idea, I think, yeah, we want to keep going, but what if we don't want to keep going? I want to at least face it as it's the end of everything. And that includes, I'm not talking about me dying, I'm talking about joy. What happened if your joy stopped? What happened if, I don't want to get past like a raw idea, but I think there are two ways of looking at this. Either treat this very temporary moment as a really temporary moment, and there is ever after it, and you need to plan forward, or you need to hope that this joy is lasting for very long, or you need to come to terms with this moment is joyful, and it is ending, and it is going to hurt. I don't know. Maybe I didn't put it on my idea.
Take it this way, but if each and every time you were breathing,
yes,
you were having a pain in your chest.
Okay.
You breathe, you get life with that, but when you just let the air go out, then
you get pain.
You get pain. Okay. Would you be okay with living like that, or would you like to go to the doctor?
Like to the doctor.
Because you don't like it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this sort of a condition, this sort of a life is a torture for you, and you don't like it. You don't want to die because you enjoy life, but this sort of life, you don't like it.
True.
Because there's constant pain within your joy itself. I mean, taking the air inside, you are filled with life, so you enjoy living. But when you let the air go, you have this super disturbing pain in your chest, and you don't like it. But you do. And you don't say that, okay, just accept that this is my reality, and whenever I die, up until that point, I have to bear with this pain. You don't do that. And the next day, we go to the emergency room.
Yes.
And this is who we are.
Yes.
And so this is what he is saying in here. So he experiences some joy, and right after the joy disappears, there is pain. And this is not once or twice. Every time, each and every time, if the joy itself for me, but the if part is important in there, if it is only I would put in quotes, material joy, meaning that it doesn't carry much of a depth for me. This is why the example of drugs is, it's a totally material joy. It doesn't have anything that carries to the next moment. So this is why the love relation is a little bit long-living. I mean, it doesn't pass maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Right. Maybe 50 years at most. But it's not that far-sighted either. And always, I mean, today you might be in good terms with your partner. Tomorrow, maybe you guys are going to have a fight. The other day you're going to be again in good terms. So it's not, again, this super high joy always. It's not. Yes. So this nature of love is always there. And yes, you get the joy when you take the air inside. When you let it out, it's pain. So would you like to live with this sort of a love relation, or would you like to go to a doctor?
Yeah, definitely you want to seek help. Yeah.
And this is, I guess, his point, saying that my heart is so that it wants to love, or my lungs is so that it wants to take the air, but also wants to release the air without pain. This is what would satisfy me. And for my heart, it wants to get attached to something, but once it gets detached from it, there is pain. So the solution should be the heart should get attached to something from which it will never get detached. So where is that? I don't see that in the world, the author says. So am I doomed? Shall I not love anyone? Or shall I say that, okay, this is my reality, so you will have to love things, and once that you get separated, you're going to have the pain. Just accept your reality and live with that. Or is there any other solution? The author in this case is going to the doctor. Not saying that, okay, accept it. This is, everybody is like that. Look at the literature, because he talked about literature. Look at all those poetry. They are all having the pain after love. So yeah, you are no different. Then take it. Accept it. You have to accept it. But I guess this is where the author would say, no, this shouldn't be the case. Mm-hmm. Then he will go to the doctor.
Yeah, I can see how it's applicable somehow to certain scenarios, but
at least you know what it means to have pain in the chest.
Yes.
Any other comments? Should we continue? One maybe short point is the sentence says meetings followed immediately by separation are not worth sorrow and grief. They are not worthy of being longed for. It doesn't say they are not worth experience. It doesn't say because you have pain when you lose your child, you shouldn't have the child. It doesn't say that.
Correct. Yeah.
It only says they are not worth sorrow and grief. So I guess there was a misunderstanding there, because from your comment I thought as if you were referring that because at the end we will get pain, as if he's suggesting not to having the experience at all. It doesn't say that.
You're going to get hungry anyway, so what's the point of eating?
Yeah. But he's not saying do not eat the food. It says do not have grief after the food.
That you're going to get hungry.
Yes. Or you should go and see a doctor, he says. If this is the case. It doesn't say do not breathe. It says just go and see a doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see his example. Do not breathe would be the wrong term.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue, inshallah. Anyone wants to read the first paragraph if you want permanence? Amar, do you want to read the first paragraph? Just one sentence, I guess. You are lucky.
If you want permanence in this transitory world, permanence comes from transitoriness. Find transience with regard to your evil commanding soul, so that you may be enduring.
Is there anyone who understands the second sentence? Who understood the second sentence? Find transience with regard to your evil commanding soul. I don't know if it is an English translation problem, but
to understand.
I don't know. I can't get what sentence
The evil
Tell.
is temporary itself. I don't know.
What does it mean with regard to your evil commanding soul?
Do you understand the first sentence?
I guess he says if you want permanence, at least I can understand like grammatically the first sentence. It says if you want permanence in this transitory verb, permanence comes from transitoriness. I can follow what it means. Again, just English-wise. But the second sentence, I don't know what it says. Find transience with regard to your evil commanding soul.
Understand that your evil commanding soul is a transient, so that you can understand, or you can be an enduring. Or if you understand your evil commanding soul is transient, then you will be enduring. So I'm just giving you different translations.
Should we read the next paragraph as well? Do you understand, or can we discuss this part? Please, go ahead. Make some comments.
Online participants.
Any idea with the part find transience with regard to your evil commanding soul? Osman shared some.
I'm looking at the Turkish, which is itself a translation of the Persian verse, and I'm having difficulty understanding it.
I think there is actually a lot to discuss in the
Louder,
first.
please.
Huh?
Louder.
I think there is a lot to discuss in the first sentence.
I agree, yeah. But I was just trying to have at least full understanding English-wise of few sentences and then. But we can start with the first sentence. Go ahead, please. Yeah. So if you want permanence, it comes from transience. Yes, he says. I guess it will be explained later what it means, how you do that.
Then it should be something like, so since he is talking to a person who is well aware of the problem, so the person that's aware of the problem is seeking for permanence, because I was looking for satisfaction, and I was trying to achieve the satisfaction through permanent things. I was loving sunset, I was loving a certain sort of pie, whatever. But all of them were permanent.
Transient.
Transient, yes, transient. And now he is saying that if you would like permanence in this transitory world, which you know that it's transitory, so your permanence will come from transitoriness, which means you will need to either kill something or see the transitoriness of something, or to be more precise, we will need to swap the words or seek for permanence in a different place. And now he takes it to find transience with regard to our evil commanding soul. Because my evil commanding soul was what was commanding me to chase the joy in this transient world. Now he is sort of turning the weapon against itself. The evil commanding soul was seeking for permanence in transient things. Now he says your evil commanding soul should be transient.
If this existence that we experience, if it didn't experience the constant change and transience, there is no way that you would know who the maker is. So like that's something that you see relatively in the external world. Like you look around and you see the constant change all the time. Something comes into existence and you experience or you observe for a certain period of time, then it goes into changes form and it goes into something different that we can no longer experience.
And this is what we discussed at the beginning of the 17th word, right? Well, exactly what you said. Everything goes to death. Everything disappears, destroyed.
We talked about change, yeah. I think he also talks about, refers to the same thing here. So there is, practically speaking, there is no way for man to really even understand the permanence if you didn't experience the transience. So you wouldn't even search for the permanence if this wasn't your reality. So that's what I understand from the first sentence. And its relationship to the second one, in the first, you see the transience in the universe, in a way. In the second, you also see the transience in your own being, meaning that whatever the experiences that you go through, they are not from you. You are not the door of those experiences, either feelings, thinking, whatever you may think of. In another verse, the famous example, if you realize that there is a mirror and there is a sun, and the reflection on the mirror is constantly changing, and they are transient in that sense because there is a change. And if you understand that those changes, to whatever is reflecting in that mirror, that whatever the light reflecting in that mirror, since it is constantly changing, it is not mirror is not the source, but it is the reflection of something else. If you understand that in your own self, then you reach the enduring one, which means you tie your existence with something that is not more. That is something that is permanent, which makes you permanent in your experience and in your existence.
So I was having trouble with other things dying or getting separated from me, as if I am going to be eternal, as if I am the center of the world, and just everything gets away from me. But now he is kind of suggesting that also remember that your existence is not by yourself.
You are subjected to the same change or same laws, let's say.
So you are also departing. You are also dying. You are not eternal in yourself. Do not take the burden of asking for your existence to continue from yourself. It's not from you. Realize your transitoriness, so that you will see, if I am also transitory, where all these things are coming from. And I guess it will be going back to the source, the sun. Realizing that I myself is also a measure.
In the next paragraph, this is, I think, what authors also suggest. I realize that the next paragraph is kind of explanation of these two encryptic sentences.
So if you read, the author will say.
Yes, yeah. So, what is it? The explanation of Risale is Risale?
Yes.
You spent so much time with Nurjus.
Let me read. And we'll get the answer, inshallah. Divest yourself of bad morals. Sorry. Divest yourself of bad morals, the basis of the worship of this world. Be transitory. Sacrifice your goods and property in the way of the true beloved. See the ends of beings which point to non-existence, for the way leading to permanence in this world starts from transitoriness. What I understand from here, it says, if you want to reach the permanence, be a good boy, or if you want to reach the permanence, first realize that you are transitory, as you were saying. You are transitory. Sacrifice your goods and property in the way of true love. So I think he's saying that realize that you don't own it. Stop attributing things to yourself. So again, make yourself naked. So realize that you are transitory. And then he says, follow this path. See the ends of beings. Realize that everything ends. Everything just like you is transitory. Which point to non-existence. So I guess now he's talking about your evil commanding soul aspect. He says when you look at the world with your own evil commanding soul, then everything goes to non-existence. You are going to non-existence as well from this aspect. But he says do not stop there. Instead, for the way leading to permanence in this world starts from transitoriness. So instead of looking at the transitoriness and concluding that everything going to non-existence, he is suggesting, I don't know how yet, but he's suggesting that do not stop at the illusionary or apparent non-existence, just continue. Let the path take you somewhere, and you will find permanence, he says. In summary, what I understand is realize that everything, including yourself, is transitory, and contemplate on that, what it means to you. What does it mean? What do you understand from all this change and all these transitoriness? And his claim is that when you start contemplating on that, you will realize that this path takes you permanence, eternal, tranquility.
Just a small addition. Did you realize that he also defined what the bad morals is?
I guess he defines them as the basis of worship of this world. So whatever attaches you or make you attached to this world, he defines as bad moral.
Ahlak-ı seyyiye. The original language. So like in the lines you just put that in there.
And
Azman, what was your question?
what was your question? If you can speak.
It was not a question, it was just a comment, in a very sneaky way, he just put it like word in there to find what ahlak-ı seyyiye is.
Bad morals.
Oh, okay. Alright, got it.
And would you comment on that? Like what you understand from his definition of bad morals?
I think
No.
bad morals comes from the worship of this world, which means not seeing the truths behind the thing, but like taking the things as is. And that's what he's saying, that when he says sacrifice your goods and property, which means just stop claiming ownership over the things, because this is illusionary, and you're just fooling yourself, and just accept your reality as is and submit to it. That's what it means to me. That's what it means to sacrifice. You just give their due and attribute the things to the true owner, and stop claiming ownership over the things, which is not the case, which is just a lie and it's just a fooling yourself. But this is why I like how he linked this with the bad morals.
So bad morals, since as a response to this bad morals, he is offering be transitory as a solution. So if I think that I exist by myself, then I will claim ownership over other things as well. And it goes like this chain goes to the other bad morals are all starting from this very tiny point that I exist, I have a right on myself, I exist by myself, and also I own this property, that property, or the things that are given to me, I claim them to be mine. Then, before coming, we were talking about that. Sometimes, let's say a person says, for something that I don't have, especially in Turkish, maybe not that much in English, but we say, evim yok, for example. The first word evim means as if it is mine, I have a house. Then the negation comes, I don't have. I mean, if many people have something, we think like it must be mine. So even for the things that I do not have, I first claim an ownership over them, or saying that I should have them. I was not given them, but
you have that preconceived idea that it's already yours.
Yeah.
You should have had them.
Yeah, I should have had it. It was not given to me, so somebody is kind of taking my right away from me. This is why I'm angry with him. So all sorts of such, and this is what actually envy is also would come from, because I am thinking that I don't have something, but somebody else has it, but I should have it in the first place. So by not giving it to me, the one who gave it to this other person is making injustice to me, sort of. So all these bad morals are coming from this very tiny idea at the very center. I exist by myself. I have a quality within myself, an inherent quality, and everything just gets on top of that. This is why he says just be transitory within yourself, saying that do you exist by yourself really? And it's also good that as a practice for that, yes, sacrificing your property. It just reminded me of giving charity as zakat. Like it's very much embedded as one of the 5 pillars of submission. So practically you need to do it so that you will start to go to this very root problem. I am not the owner. So it looks like if you take it in the secular version, humanitarian version, the whole meaning disappears from this very beautiful act. But at the very root of this giving charity is to solve this very problem. It's not mine, I am not mine. So it really solves the bad morals from just there.
Reminding yourself who the true owner is.
Yeah, I see it also from another angle, that is not owning, that is clinging to things, clinging to a lifestyle, or clinging to being in control of certain things. And you don't realize that clinging just will make it worse, because this is ending, or you are ending. So, you don't even have to be owning anything. Clinging even to a relationship to a child, like what we were saying earlier. This is my child, I want it. And that's easy for me to say because I'm not a parent. I can be as wise as I can about the children.
The human mind, which plunges into causes, is bewildered at the upheavals of the passing of the world, and laments despairingly. While the conscience, which desires true existence, severs the connection with metaphorical beloveds and transient beings through crying like Abraham, I love not those that sad, and it binds itself to the truly existent one and eternal beloved. He's somehow discussing the contrast between mind and conscience. he says human mind, which plunges into causes, bewildered at the upheavals of passing of the world. So I guess like you get crazy and sad by realizing the transience of the world. On the other hand, he says the conscience, which desires true existence, unlike mind, which were after causes, transient causes, cut the connection with metaphorical beloveds. So what do you understand from metaphorical beloved? We can discuss anyway. He says the conscience cut the connection with metaphorical beloveds and also transient beings, and say, I love not those that sad. And
I
true
think
beings. Oh, go ahead, please. Yeah.
the answer to your question is inside the text. Our metaphorical beloved is the transient beings. So if you read "and" as a definition.
Okay, I see.
I was gonna say in a different way than I noticed the use of word "and," but it boils down to the same thing. I was gonna say metaphorical beloved is the thing that you are, when you ascribe that quality of belovedness to something transitory, that's described as a metaphor. But I want to say something more important than that. It's because the way the sentence paragraph begins, it's misleading if you don't really take the context into consideration. First of all, I don't think there's a contrast between the human mind and the conscience. I think the contrast is between the conscience and the human mind that is plunged into causes. So the way the first sentence is structured, the translation, it kind of conveys the meaning that human mind, by definition, that is something plunges into causes. That's a wrong translation. I think the way I would translate this sentence is, if the human mind plunges into causes, it is bewildered at the upheavals of the passing of the world. So we are not comparing consciousness and the human mind categorically. We are comparing consciousness with a human mind that is incorrectly utilized and plunged into causes. That's my takeaway.
And then he says conscience, by cutting connection with transient beings, it binds itself to the truly existent one and eternal beloved. So one question, maybe somebody can give an answer, is how conscience or mind, doesn't matter, how human being, let's say, can find the truly existent one or eternal beloved so that he can connect himself to the truly existent one. Because here, he says the conscience cut the connection with the transient beings and binds itself to eternal one. Conscience. It binds itself to eternal one as if it is already found. Right? You already found the eternal one, and then you bind yourself. So how do you find it? Did we discuss this part, or?
I think it does matter. Like, you cannot say just human being. I think it does matter to make that distinction between the mind that is plunged into the causes and the conscience being aware of what's going on. So, like, if, like, everyone questions himself in an honest way and, like, listen to the sound, whatever, here, like, it is called conscience. Listen to that, like, inner voice. You will find that, like, that is attached to somewhere that is, like more, like, permanent than just, thinking, let's say, the causes to be the, like, real reason for your,
satisfaction. There is this aspect in human being that is aware of the reality, but there are other faculties that may come into play that we may not necessarily express that and be openly and be honest with ourselves and openly express it.
To me, whether this contrast that I referred between mind and conscience, whether it is something constant, something necessary or not, or even whether it is between mind and conscience or some other faculty, I guess this contrast, this conflict is always there with the human. So at least with me, there is no state for me that I'm in pure peace, tranquility. There's always a conflict. Even when I realize something, even when I understand something, or even when I experience something, there is also opposite of this thing, this experience, waiting for me there. Like I always have them together. Like I'm experiencing joy and the pain is waiting for me. Even when I think that I make the right connection with the eternal one, truly existent one, shirk or unbelief still waiting me there. So there's always a conflict between two. Just again, at least in my reality.
Just to be clear, when you say truly existent one, you mean the pure you, or you mean God? When you say, when I'm truly connected to the truth, what, I'm just not clear on that part. We mean the true me,
The existing one refers to God.
referring to that. Okay. That's a good step.
Can you really be truly existing one on your own?
That's like a big thing that I can't answer because I don't know. Honestly.
You can.
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. That's a very difficult question, I think, for everyone in this room. And definitely very difficult question for myself. But I was just referring to his point when he said, even when you were discussing that there is a constant conflict. And then you said, even when I am connected to the true one, I was thinking of the pure you or the good in you. Because this conscious in mind, I can just reward it as the good and evil. Or at least that's how we are talking about it. The conscious is good and the mind is bad.
I'm not sure of this because
I'm not really there.
when he says the human mind which plunges into causes, it does not necessarily imply that the causes or the things that we see as causes are there for evil.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that.
True.
Right? An example might be a little bit inaccurate, but when I look at a text, especially if it's not my mother tongue, when I look at a text in English, in Arabic, in Chinese, whatever, first I will look at the shapes, then try to remember the grammar rules, try to make sense of it. And no matter how hard I try, this is how I am hard by it. I will try to make sense of it. Just bring the rules, try to establish relations in between the words. And so I'm trying to extract some meaning out of it. If I cannot extract any meaning out of it, I will just say, what's going on here? I would like to just throw the book away and if you invest a lot of time over the book, and if somebody says that this is the book, and you understand nothing out of the book, although you know a lot of rules which connects the words, you know the grammar rules, you would say that no, it doesn't work. I mean, this is where your intellect would say, because this is what our intellect does. We are trying to establish connection between the things, what comes before, what comes after. and trying to just, it's all about relations, that the way that we are constructing our arguments, our worldviews. But if I cannot make sense out of that, okay, now I connect all of them, but what do they mean? Because all of them are apparently going into nothingness. This is where I guess the intellect is going to now say, what's going on in here? It's going to cry. So this doesn't mean that intellect shouldn't do this, shouldn't try to establish connections with them, but by itself, when intellect is by itself and trying to understand things in the surface of the paper, in the horizontal level, yeah, this is what at the end intellect would do. And then conscience would say, I don't want to waste my time with that. This is why it would say that just detach yourself from this book. It doesn't tell me anything if I try to just establish relations in between the words. There must be something beyond the words. There must be a meaning. This is what conscience would look for, because it cannot be just about establishing the connections.
I disagree with the role of the mind described by my beloved brother Yusuf.
We love to hear more, please.
So human mind is not a device that is only capable of processing information on the horizontal level. I think this is incorrect. Human mind is just a device. It's a passive device, a processing unit, and the control is up to us. Traditionally, the scholar says it's either the heart or the self controls it. But it comes down to how we utilize and what we want to get out of the processed information the mind has achieved. It's, if you want to understand if you want to give meaning to the world on the horizontal level, that's based on your free will, the human mind will tell you so. It's going to tell you, yeah, the causes are creating the effects, etc., etc. But it's you, your human free will, or your whatever you want to call it, what makes you decides what to get out of, what to get from that processing power. So if you want to really solve the mysteries of the universe and understand if things can really be the causes of the effects, you are going to get the information which you will interpret eventually and make a conclusion that things cannot create themselves. So mind is just a poor device. It has nothing to do with the big $1 million decisions that we are making. It's a passive processing device and we are in control. So when we say mind only gives us information on the horizontal level, of course mind is like the physical brain or biological brain is in the physical world, but I'm not defining mind as the neurons firing in my brain. It's another human quality which lets me interact with the world. That's all mind does. But it doesn't mean that mind is forcing me to forcibly interpret the world on the horizontal level. It takes away the quality of human free will, and I don't think that's, to me at least, when I look at myself and how I experience the world, that's not how I see the mind. So I'm not really making big claims and academic definitions of mind, but I can only share what I think about it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing. I guess these were very interesting and harsh comments against Yusuf's ideas. Really hard to swallow.
Now Yusuf has to say something.
What I understood is, try to give mind's due, I guess. Try to say its dignity against Yusuf. And also he, I guess, claimed that Yusuf uses his mind in a wrong way. But that's the reason.
What was your point, that mind just only works on the horizontal level?
Initially, this is how the mind is working. The mind is trying to establish relations. And if it cannot find meaning beyond it, then the mind would say, what is it? What's going on in here? And last week we were talking about how the mind is a tool for negating. Mind knows that it's very good that the author talks about the relation between mind and causality, because ultimately, even when Ibrahim alayhi salam was seeking for the maker of the heavens and the earth, there's this initial understanding which says there must be a cause which is making the things around you. So the tool that the intellect works on is the causes. So this is a very tiny thing. But the proper way, as far as I understand, from the way that Quran wants me to approach, the mind should be negating the possible makers. I am trying to see if it is sun, if it is moon, if it is DNA, if it is this, if it is that. Each and every time the mind is looking for if the relation between the DNA and the end result makes sense, if it satisfies me, if it is fitting or scaling. If not, it just rejects. And if you keep rejecting like that, the mind would say, ultimately, there must be something. That's it. I cannot go beyond that. But the way within at least this context, it's looking like the mind is establishing some sort of connections, but it doesn't mean anything. So to give a practical example, let's say taking this class nowadays, so even the tiniest part of the brain is having so much information, so much design, so much wisdom in them, duty. Everything is with duty. Like we are saying, for example, neurons are firing. For neurons firing, you go to just this molecular, atomic level, things are happening right there. So much of wisdom, so much of knowledge is buried in there. And the teacher is saying that we cannot, she talks about something that the rest is unknown for us. Still, there are huge unknown parts of the brain that we have no clue what's going on. So much of a complex system. They say the most complex system in the universe. We say that, and then when it comes to a person who studies this brain, we say that the brain is given to us. Well, one more point. So the professor was comparing the dog's brain versus human's brain. So saying that dog's brain is largely occupied for this region is for sight, this region is for hearing, this region is for tasting, and that's it. The whole brain is occupied for these duties. He says for human brain, it is just this much, this much, this much. The rest is association, she says. It's for associating the information. This is the brain. Then the analyzer, the researcher that works on this brain, will ask the question, what is the life? Says life is meaningless. Just enjoy the moment, live the moment. So this brain was hardwired to associate the information, make sense of life. You are the one that are not even able to understand the brain, what it does. And now you are saying that the thing that brain is supposed to make sense of is meaningless. So my conscience now comes into play and says that I don't want to play this game. What are you talking about? It doesn't make sense. Because the intellect says, if this is what it is for, we are pouring this many $1 billion research for the universities. We are trying to make sense of the brain. And once we understand the brain is the tool to make sense of the life or existence itself, and the existence doesn't make sense. So what are we doing here? Why are we just eating other people's money? People are paying taxes. We are trying to just, by eating this money, it doesn't make any sense.
Are you suggesting that your brain is cleverer than you?
Sort of. So, this line of thought, human is bound to think, human intellect works in terms of analyzing those causes. And once you come to the end of it, so if it doesn't take you anywhere, the intellect, as the author is saying in here, start shouting. But of course, I mean, you are going to use your intellect. You can use your intellect to say that once your conscience says that this cannot be the case, then of course you are going to say that, okay, then intellect, let's try to make sense of it by adding another variable into the equation. Because the intellect was not able to make sense of it by saying that it happens by itself. Then things are going to change, of course.
I guess Emin wanted to say something in the middle. Do you want to say something, Emin?
I know I didn't want to say anything in the middle, but just a quick comment. I don't believe that human mind or intellect, however whatever you want to call it, makes any decisions at all. It's again, I repeat, it's a passive device. Decision making is not made by the human mind. It's made by the human. It's himself, herself, or if you really want to go technical, it's the free will. Like, it's almost like saying the CPUs on our computers make a decision for us and open up a web page. Like, it wants me to go visit Facebook. No. Whenever there's a decision to be made, it's a human himself is doing it, not the mind. Mind is a tool. Mind cannot make decisions. It can provide you to ability to look at the data from different perspectives. Like it can scoop, 5 different pieces of data, and it lets you look at it from a different perspective, for example. But it's always you are going to make the decision. Just because mind scoops 5 different pieces of information and puts you in front of it, in front of you, it doesn't come in an objective, absolutely universal, not questionable definition. It's you are interpreting. So I guess we are giving so much credit to mind, and we almost think like mind is making decisions for us. I don't think that's the truth. Mind is just a device, and it's up to us how to utilize that device. And that's what the author is, I understand, talking about in here, and reminding us we have a human quality, call it conscious heart or free will, whatever you want to call it. It warns you and helps you to, still not forcing anything, just it suggests you to see if there are different dimensions to this data set you just collected through your mind or processed through your mind. And also, when I personally talk about mind or intellect, I don't talk about brain at all. So giving examples from the biological brain itself and reducing mind to the brain, that's, I think, another pitfall you should be aware of. That's a whole different topic. And just because there are certain people are investigating or studying the brain itself and the biological relationships or neurons being fired, etc., we cannot just immediately jump and speak of mind it's apples and oranges. Really, it has nothing to do with mind. It's just a physical representation of what mind is doing, similar to our bodies. And when I'm talking to you right now, moving my hands, all over the place, it doesn't mean that I am my hands. So I just need to remind myself and everyone that the Quran talks to human being. It doesn't talk to the biological animal at all.
Thank you for clarification. Thank you.
I think I agree with Emin with the part that mind is the tool that collects the data, analyzes it, presents it to you. But human being has another aspect that is called free will, who makes the decision about the data, what he wants to do with it. I think what I understood from what you said, that's how I would summarize it.
As much as
that's fair summary.
To be honest, I don't see much of conflict in the ideas. It's possible, at least to me, it's just some use of some words, maybe.
I think in Yusuf's approach, there wasn't emphasis on or there was an emphasis on the the mind or like reasoning as if like that is the faculty that makes all the decisions. That may not be the case.
Well, I just want to share some junk science. So I was reading Homo Deus. I don't remember the guy's name. He's the author of Sapiens. And at some point he was discussing that free will is illusion. That basically you think that you're making a decision, but you're not. And they made the rats, literally, they simulated them, they took the stairs. And then when they did something to them differently, they opened the door. And it wasn't up to, the rat probably thinks, I'm making my mind to take the stairs. Or, oh, I'm gonna open the door. But it wasn't up to them. And he discussed this for a long time. He said that they can also just put you there and you think that you're gonna lift your right hand or left hand, but they
remember the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago? Like
I wasn't here.
No, you were here. And you objected the idea that like, you said like, we are making decisions, but we are not really making decisions.
No, I'm just sharing some science. I don't know if it's junk science or not, but the guy wrote like a long time on this, on why we think that you're making any decisions, but we're not making any decisions.
I agree with the guy.
At least we agree that he has some problems in his favor. So, obviously that he is not able to make some decisions. Anyway, let's
go back
continue.
to the subject.
Yeah, sorry to dive. You just reminded me, the discussion reminded me.
But again, I really believe this is an important topic. We can continue discussing later, inshallah. O my ignorant soul, know that the world and its beings are certainly ephemeral, but you may find a way leading to permanence in each ephemeral thing, and may see two flashes, two mysteries of the manifestations of the undying beloved's beauty. So, to me it sounds like each paragraph, so when there's a new movie, before it goes to theaters, like there's a teaser, and then there's a trailer, and it gets closer and closer to the
Punching line.
The movie itself. So first, I think it's like, I feel the same here. First, he says the permanence is in transience. You will find permanence from transitoriness. Nothing more. Then he says you should follow the transience to find the permanence. Still, we don't know how. And then it's getting closer and closer to this.
What is that we don't know? I'm sorry to interrupt.
So say it again.
What is that? What is it that we do not know? You just
How
commented.
to find permanence out of transience?
Okay. I mean, we may not have been able to internalize it yet. At least I can speak of myself, still struggling. But I think author touched upon that in the previous paragraph where he says, see where's the connection with metaphorical beloveds. Whatever that phrase means, I think that's how, at least according to this context, the context over here, that's how you gain permanence. It's hidden in that phrase, severing or disconnecting our relationship with the metaphorical beloved. I mean, disconnecting, detaching ourselves not with the beloveds, but with the metaphorical nature of it. Or if there's a word, metaphoricality. So in other words, La ilaha illallah. So La ilaha is how you sever the connection, and illallah is the corollary. So there's no additional step for illallah because that gets into the gaib or absoluteness, the nature of the God, etc. So it's you cannot delve into Allah, but all of our conclusions and internalizations and interpretations in this life is strictly constrained within the La ilaha realm or sphere. And when we say La ilaha, I think we sever that connection. And we are declaring that, yes, I love my wife, I love food, I love, I love to breathe and stay healthy. But at the same time, the connection that I appear to have with the earthly or worldly things, that connection has to be severed in order to gain permanence. And the severing equals to declaring La ilaha. I mean, sorry, this is going to be my final comment, so I will leave it feedback from you. Don't you think it kind of explains how to gain permanence? So if we declare that, if we sever the connection with the transitory things, don't we gain permanence as a corollary or as a result of it? Or are there any steps in between you think are missing?
When you explain this way, yeah, I agree. It becomes much clearer. I guess I was not thinking deeply, just reading and trying to find the solution explicitly given. But
what was your initial concern that there is not direct answers? He is just teasing you but not giving you the answer?
Not teasing me, but it's just alluding answer, but not stating it. That's what I thought. Again, when I listened what Emin was saying, yes, it sounds, at least to some extent, obvious. Yeah. Any other comments?
I have a note here on my book saying that this paragraph is not completely translated. I think there is a sentence missing. After this paragraph,
which paragraph?
The one that we just read.
Oh, my ignorant soul?
Yeah. In Turkish, original language one, it says Anşatlı sureti fanide ve kendinden geçebilirsen. I didn't see that statement, sentence in the translation.
How would you translate it?
If you can give up on the external appearance, transient, appearance, I don't know, how would you translate it? Sureti faniye.
Transient aspect of things.
And also from yourself, or from with self.
So you should leave them?
So he's not really saying anything different or anything new. He's just hammering on the same hammer from a different angle. Hammering on the same nail from a different angle.
So there are two flashes and two mysteries he's referring. Should we continue reading to see what they are, or any ideas?
It's gonna come. It's gonna come in the next paragraphs.
Let's read it then. Yes, it is within the bounty that bestowal is to be seen and the favor of the most merciful perceived. Yes, it is within the bounty that the bestowal is to be seen and the favor of the most merciful perceived. If you pass from bounty to bestowal, you will find the bestower.
I stop you there. Who is bestowal and who is the other guy bestowal? And what is this?
So, okay. I guess this is really,
I don't understand anything.
I really like actually this part. It says, you have something in front of you.
Okay.
Anything that you like, anything you enjoy.
Okay.
So one option, you can just take it as granted and say that it is there. I'm enjoying it. That's all. Another option, you see it as given to you.
Okay.
So it becomes a bounty.
Okay.
So if you see things as bounty,
Okay. Go ahead.
if you see things as bounty,
Uh-huh.
then you realize that there's an action of bestowal.
Like giving it.
Yes,
Okay.
being given.
Being
Right.
given.
You realize the action
Okay.
from the product. If you can see the product in the right way, if you can see it as a bounty,
Mm-hmm.
not as being in itself,
Yes.
it is given to me.
So there is
Then
appreciation.
you realize, yes, exactly. You realize that there's an action of giving.
Yes.
If there's an action of giving, there's an actor of this action, which you would call as bestower.
So, okay. Okay. Yes.
But it all starts with the realization
Mhm.
that what you have, what you are drinking right now, it's not just water, it is a bounty.
Yes. It makes a big difference.
Exactly.
Just viewing that glass of water.
So from the art,
Mhm.
you realize that there is a artist.
Mm-hmm.
You see a painting, you say that, oh, there's an action of painting this painting.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, there must be a painter.
A good painter or something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the crux of today's atheistic view is, no, everything is just taken granted, like they exist at all, that they are not created or given, so there is no action.
Mm-hmm.
Once you deny the action, there is no place for an actor.
I think whoever says that they have an answer, they have a big claim. Whether your answer is just there by itself, or your answer there is a creator behind the glass of water. They both have big things to prove. My point is claiming that the glass of water is there by itself. How do you know that it is there by itself?
But when you say it that way, it sounds as if you cannot disprove it either. But the entire, at least my ideology,
Mm-hmm.
it's based on, I can disprove things if they are wrong.
I can disprove things is there. Oh, yeah, yes. Then yes, then it's a yes. Exactly.
I mean,
You got what I said right.
Yes.
You got me perfectly correct. Yes. So that's how I also perceive it. That it's more of enviness. I envy people, and this is not me trying to say that I am humble, but I really envy when someone say I have an answer. I truly envy them when someone says, I take this glass of water, or they paint the idea of our existence as a thing that has a creator, that I look them in the eye and I see that they really believe this, truly.
But I can follow you, I can understand, but I don't see...
I was just talking about the disapproval thing that you said.
Yes, but the way you put it, you talking as if they are equals. Like somebody telling me that the water exists by itself, same thing as another one coming and telling me, oh no, because it exists, there must be someone or something, let's say, which gives existence to the water.
Yeah, I won't buy it. They're not equal. Yeah,
to me, the one is I can
I
easily say that it's stupid. I can easily negate. No, it cannot happen by itself.
Yeah, I can agree. That at least they're not exactly. Yeah. Or not
And
close.
whether you envy or not,
That's
both
not-
believer,
Mhm.
at least to me, like, I respect one, I disrespect the other one. I will read this part again. Yes, it is within the bounty that the bestowal is to be seen and the favor of the most merciful perceived. If you pass from bounty to bestowal, you will find the bestower.
Mhm.
Also, each work of the eternal bestowed one makes known the all-glorious maker's names like a missive. If you pass from the decoration to the meaning, you will find the one signified by way of his names. If you pass from the decoration to the meaning, you will find the one signified by way of his names. Since you can find the kernel, the essence of these ephemeral beings, obtain it. Then without pity, you can throw away their meaningless shells and externals onto the flood of ephemerality. So I guess this is the paragraph that he put a clear definition or explanation, even clear explanation of what he discussed. I can see some faces when I say clear definition. I mean, it looks like, what are you talking about? I didn't understand any part about clear definition. Sorry for it's okay. I didn't mean to imply anything. Let me put it that way. Okay.
Mhm.
I guess this is the paragraph
Mhm.
that he thinks
That things are good.
he gives a clear explanation. So since it's talking about the decoration and reaching to meaning, shells, essence, maybe Yusuf, you want to say something here and then we can conclude. We have, I guess we have 10 minutes. So if you please us with your lovely thoughts on this part and then conclude.
So yeah, as Osman was previously saying, so far I was looking at the mirror and thinking that the light or the beauties that I see in the mirror was from the mirror. But now, if I realize that the mirror is just receiving light from somewhere, because eventually all the mirrors are getting broken. So if I know that the things that I see in the mirror are being reflected, so they are from an eternal source, or metaphorically speaking, if the things in the mirror are reflections of a more stable source than the mirror itself, then I will turn my face towards the origin, the sun itself, not the mirror. So I wouldn't be worried if what would happen if the mirror gets broken. So, in this sense, I really like the last word of the previous paragraph. He talks about undying beloved's beauty. Because we love things, but they die, and this is what was really kind of giving us pain. And he is now defining the Creator as undying beloved. Because we say there are 99 names of God. Now he's coming up with another name for the Creator, which is, I guess, an unconventional name. But it really makes sense. It really feels good to say that undying beloved. I love someone, but my beloved does not die. Undying beloved's beauty. So his beauty does not die or disappear or decay either. So such a desirable beauty, such a desirable beloved.
Did you guys finish the next paragraph? Did you read all the way to the end?
No, we just read, yes, it is within the bounty that the bestowal is to receive.
This is for maybe discussion for next week.
No.
He brought the subject to meaning and meaninglessness.
So could you repeat it, please? Sorry.
And at the end of this paragraph, it talks about the meaning versus the meaninglessness.
Then, without pity, you can throw away their meaningless shells and externals onto the flood of ephemerality.
And for that, he says decoration, if you pass from the decoration to the meaning.
Okay.
So, we should discuss that.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين